Mainstream's Global Development Standard is an in-house standard that underpins everything we do in terms of development. It's aligned to international best practice.
Our Mainstream Global Development Standard is what encapsulates and makes concrete our uniqueness in terms of development for renewable energy in the world.
We often are working in emerging markets where regulations are either non-existent or they're very limited, but because we develop meticulously to these international standards such as the IFC framework, the Equator Principles, the World Bank standards on health and environment, lenders, financiers, shareholders know that our projects are developed meticulously and will meet international financing standards.
Our Global Development Standard means we develop our projects environmentally and social impact-wise to global best standards. There are parts of the world where regulation is not as developed, and we could take shortcuts, but we don't take shortcuts.
The Global Development Standard was developed based on a whole lot of in-house experience that we have of developing projects globally. The Global Development Standard really gives Mainstream a competitive edge because it's a continually improving system. And what it's doing is formalising all of the knowledge that we have of developing wind and solar projects globally, allowing us to become a more robust developer.
Mainstream's expertise is in identifying the markets that are trying to attract renewable energy. And once we've identified a market like that, we enter it and then use our in-house Global Development Standard to bring the project through development, through construction and into operation.
The Global Development Standard is vital because it's a statement of intent, and it says that we will deliver on the objectives that we have set out to deliver in a way that allows our investors and our partners also to deliver on their objectives. So it's a win-win.
Organisations such as the IFC and the Rockefeller Brothers have invested in Mainstream because of our unrivalled track record and because we develop projects to the highest international standards.
Renewable energy is still a new industry here in Vietnam. Therefore, there are some international standards is not applied here in the country. However, in Mainstream, we commit to develop all of our projects according to our global development standard.
Even though there are no current regulations here in the Philippines for bat monitoring at half height, we are doing it as part of our Global Development Standard because it's international best practice.
It gives our investor confidence in our projects.
The Global Development Standards contains a due diligence process that allows to identify the best projects, the risk of those projects, and also to minimize those risks.
It also speaks about health and safety, it speaks about sustainability, it speaks about how you treat local communities, and most importantly, it speaks about our absolute no tolerance for bribery and corruption.
It's true to our values to ensure that we do not tolerate any instances of anything that could even be perceived to be doing business in the incorrect manner.
Our contractors are required to follow a specific code of conduct. We have a certain standard to relate with the communities, and we do it in an early stage. To mention two examples in how we implement the Global Development Standard here in Chile. For designing the project layout, we establish a minimum distance to dwellings. This is not a legal requirement. To engage with the communities in an early stage, we receive their feedback and we try to incorporate that in the project layout.
South Africa was a new market for Mainstream and a new market for renewable energy. And regulations around the development of projects was limited, and the Global Development Standard certainly was a guide, especially if you look at pre-construction bird monitoring, for example. We had an endangered species where GPS tagged these birds and tracked them and used scientific data to inform our decision making. And in this instance, we decided we'll do the right thing, we'll do the ethical development process, follow our Global Development Standard, and walk away from the project. And that was our guide in terms of we could have done local legislation and local regulations and pursued it, but would that have been the right thing? No.
So we apply best practices even if we're not required by the authorities in a country to do so.
Because we operate in so many different jurisdictions, we take the best practice globally and we apply it locally. And that's our Global Development Standard.